Okay, does look like I'm recording now. Okay, good morning. Welcome to my next training on events. So just some updates this morning. Animal ID, obviously not new, but everything is up and running. Poultry, I have still not created that yet, but rabbits is up now. Help videos are available. Courtney and I got those recorded and those are now on our website. Animal ID reports, I've also created those for you. If you go into your custom reports in 4-H Online, you under the little white folder that says your county's name on it, you drop that down, you will find animal ID reports for all the species. I have set those up for you. You can copy them and add any other extra information you need, but all the required fields for all the animals or for those specific animal ID types is available. So those are ready for you to use now, but do note for some reason, meat goat and dairy goat females is not working. I've got tech support looking at that. Those two reports currently are not pulling anybody. And I know I at least have some training counting examples in there for them to actually pull. So don't know what's happening there, but that's currently not working. And also note that animal date of birth is not working as well. They did inform me yesterday during my call with tech support that they have moved that to the top of the priority list. So they will hopefully get that resolved soon, and I will let you all know when that is working. So those animals that do require a date of birth, it is upping them back a day for some unknown reason. Tammy, tattoo still shows up for swatches. I know I've argued about that. That is something that they just haven't changed. That is how it pulls into fair entry as tattoo instead of ear notch. So when they go into the when they get into fill out the animal ID information, I have relabeled it in there for the exhibitors to know that that is ear notch where they should be placing that. Okay, something I didn't list on here, some kind of exciting news. Please wait to do anything with this until I send out more announcements on it this week, but fair entry integration with 4-H Online 2.0 is finally done. So now tech support can get some other things moving for us, getting some of these smaller glitches fixed. So that now is finished. I will be sending out more information and instructions on fair entry, so we can start rolling over those fairs and getting those built. Yay. Another big piece of big news I found out yesterday is credit cards that were declined for families who have now come into your offices to pay with check. We can now finally mark those as paid. The families can also do that as well. They can go back in and mark that they have paid with a check, or you can go into their profile, go into the invoice and mark those as paid. Yay, that's finally done. If that for some reason is not working, please send me an email, but I was assured last night that that was to be published and that can now happen. So we can finally get those kiddos marked as paid. Also now I learned something yesterday that managers' passwords do expire now every 6 months. So if you're prompted to change your password, don't be alarmed that it's a new protocol. They are expiring every 6 months. So do note you will have to do that, but it does not affect families. Families do not have to change their passwords. Theirs will stay with them as long as they want, as long as they need to, unless they forget it and then they have to reset it themselves. But managers, it does expire. Okay, administrative issues. These are pretty much the same, guys. Everything's the little things that we've noticed, or the bigger things, I guess we've noticed. Those are still issues you'll see here on my list. The duplicate profiles, they are finishing up that. I learned yesterday they are finishing up that test. So that will hopefully be here in the next couple of weeks so we can finally get some of these duplicates merged. That's been a big stress nation that we need those duplications merged together. Okay, so any questions on any administrative issues or anything that's new?
Yes, Kara.
Yeah.
I've done some club swaps because they signed up for the wrong club, but on the screen, it still shows the old club, and then when you go to do a report, it's pulling that old club and not the new one. How do I fix that? What do we do about that?
Yeah, so as long as it's correct under their profile, I know when you're on your search screen, it's still not showing that new club. And I've reported that issue. There's really nothing we can do about it. Again, as long as it is correct under their profile, because then they will pull into the correct reports. As long as that is all functioning, that's the most important part at this time. But I do know that that is an issue, and I have reported that issue. But I thank you for bringing that up again. Broadcast emails are back up and working. Yes, they are. So that is now fully functioning as well. I did learn that yesterday that all those bugs are fixed. If not, do note that it does take a little bit of time. When you send big emails, when you go back in to look at those that you had sent, it does, again, it takes a little bit of time. So be patient with that. But if you are finding that somebody is not getting an email, please let me know and we'll figure out what's going on. Okay. So again, today's webinar is on event management. So we'll go through how to set up an event and approving of registrations. Before we get started, let's think back to fall of 2019. I know that was like a long time ago, right? When we announced that you all could start using 4-H Online to do event management and collect credit cards for those event registrations. You have to fill out a budget form first before you can open an event through 4-H Online that you're going to collect registration fees for. If this is a free event, obviously you don't have to fill out the budget form. You can set that up and move right along. If you have questions, let me know. I'm happy to help walk you through that. But if you're going to collect credit cards for the registration, please fill out that budget form. That budget form is on the intranet. I did move it to the 4-H Online 2.0 folder, the county manager resources and event management. It is under there for you to fill out. If you have questions on that, please let me know and I'll help walk you through that. We have to have that approved with the business office before you can collect event registration. Do know it does take a little bit of time for the business office to approve. So if you're wanting to set up an event, get that to me in about 2 weeks in advance before you're ready to open that event. That's just good timing so we can get that turned around with the business office, especially if they have any questions. Okay. So then, again, we'll go through setting up an event, approving pending registrations, marking checks, payment, all that kind of thing with the events. Okay, so I'm in my training county, right? Yep. Okay. So to begin creating an event, you'll go to your events tab. This is the one thing I do miss about, I hate to say this, about 1.0 is this, there's a lot of events here. So when events start building up, you're going to see everything. I miss my sorting a little bit more, but if you are in charge of an event, you can sort this out to say event admin, so then you can just see the ones that you actually have management over. But to add an event, we would click up here, nice big blue button, add an event, give it a name. You have to give it some sort of description. If you don't know anything right off the top, just put something in there so it'll let you go on. You can always go back and edit that information later. The program year, obviously we're working in the current program year, so we leave that. Events start and end date. This is the start and end date of your actual event, not the registration of the dates of your actual event. So you would put those in here. And once you have all that, you click add. I'm actually going to go into the one that I'm currently building. So this is in testing mode. Remember, if you have built an event and you need to, you need to edit something after you've already made it go live, you have to have this in testing status to make it go live. It has to be an active status. But do note, if you need to make any changes at any time during your event registration, put it into testing so you can make those changes, but make sure you also put it back to active so they can get in to register. So you start here under details. I will click edit. Here's your name. Again, your description, if you want to go back and put in more of a description, because in the beginning you didn't have much of one. Enable sessions. So I learned yesterday, sessions are not working 100%. I know a few groups who have started using sessions. If you are using sessions currently in an event, please contact me and we'll work through how to get you manage that the rest of the way. If you are thinking about setting up an event at this time, avoid using sessions. I've got it turned on so I can show you all exactly kind of what it looks like. Tech support is aware that it is not fully functioning at this moment. I learned through Teams that a couple little things, but I was like, I can get by with this, but there are some bigger issues with sessions at this time. I want it to fully function because I need it for some summer events. So, but again, if you are setting up an event, if you wanted to turn on sessions, you would check that box here to turn those on. And I'll show you kind of what that means when we get to that step. But again, right now, until you hear otherwise from me, avoid using sessions. I can help you work through other ways to set up session type things through your event otherwise. Allow multiple registrations. So that is a feature that lets you, lets members go in multiple times to sign up for an event. So if you want that turned on, you just check that box. Otherwise, if you only want them to register one time, leave it alone. Allow registration by manager only. Again, if you wanted to set up an event and only the county managers could sign those folks up, you would turn that on. Payment credits on and payment electronic on. Those are defaulted on because it's in the system. So you can't turn those off. If you're not charging for an event, don't worry about it. It's obviously if you don't assign a registration fee, then you won't have to worry about that anyway. But those are automatically turned on.
Hey, Kara, a couple quick questions here.
Yeah.
One I can answer. Benny 157 asks, so this is just for what we are putting on, not Roundup and others, correct? That would be correct. So these are events that you're setting up. And then Margie asked, what does a session mean? That's a great question. What do you mean when you say session?
So when I say session, so for instance, in this example that I'm showing you today is a day camp. So I'm setting up different sessions. So these are different days for day camps. So I have like day one is my arts and crafts day, day two. So it allows them to go in and pick the different sessions that they want to sign up for. So for teens as teachers, when I set this up, I set the sessions up by the types or the disciplines. So for like Courtney's was animal biosecurity, so they could sign up for that session. There was the teens as the teen leadership, healthy living. Those were what I set up as sessions. So they checked that box first to say that this is the session I want to be a part of, and then it moved them on into questions. So that's what I mean by sessions. So you can use that for different things, especially if you have different days for an event, you can set them up under sessions. So that's what I mean by that. And like I said, it's not fully functioning at this moment, so I'm kind of deterring people from it, but it is a cool feature that I want to be able to use as we go along. So I will demonstrate it today. But good question. I hope that helps. So then with bank account, again, ignore that. We don't have a bank account set up with 4-H Online. Require county area approval. So if you're hosting an event for just your county and you want to approve those registrants before they just automatically become approved, you would check this box. If you don't care, you just want them to register and then they're automatically approved, just uncheck it. And then there's no approval process with the registration. If you're opening this event up to other counties, if you're hosting it and you're going to open it up and you want that to be approved, you would click that approve, but then that county that member comes from, they have to approve the registration. And again, program year, and then your start and end date of your event. And I'll click save. We'll scroll down here. So this is where if you're going to open it up to other counties, you could say all counties if you want to make it a statewide event, or you can select what counties you want to include. It'll always default to your county otherwise. Logo image and splash image, you can put in those. I learned yesterday with Joanne Linton that in Carroll County that if you want it to be large, when they go to the events tab under their profile and you want them to really see, put it under splash image, because otherwise logo is about this big. She was doing an event registration for a t-shirt, and so where she wasn't charging, but she wanted them to actually see the picture, so she had to put it under splash image so they could actually see the image. But do note that, yeah, you can put both in there as well. And then if you're in the middle of an event, you decide like building an event, you don't like what's going on, you can also delete from the details page. Okay, moving on to types. So types is very important. You have to have a type for anybody to actually register. So we would add a type here, put in the name of whatever you want it to be called. So under role, so you have to make a registration type for any role that's going to register. So if you're going to open this event up to mini 4-H members, to club members, to adults, you have to create a registration type for each of those roles for them to be able to register for the event. You'll see that there's a manager option. Ignore that one. It's not working. So don't expect managers to be able to register themselves for an event using that role. Currently doesn't even work. I'd like it to work, but it's not at the moment. Participant. Let's talk about this one for just a minute. So participant is a new role that we have turned on in 4-H Online. I've got a few counties who are using it. It's working pretty well. What the participant role is, and those of you who signed up with Teens as Teachers would know a little bit about what that role looks like. A participant role is a way we can invite new families to register for our events. It's pretty quick and easy. You give them instructions on how to sign themselves up as a participant. They come into our system, they put in some basic information, they build a family account, they build a member's profile. Again, they're just putting in the basic information, and they say that they want to currently be a participant. It stops right there and then takes them back to their home screen once they've said that they're going to be a participant. And then they can go right into the event registration to sign up for an event. So if they're not a member currently, but they're brand new, you're just trying to bring them in for an event. And then after the event, they can go back into that profile and roll it into a 4-H member account. But this way, they're not having to pick a club, pick a project. You know, they're very new to our program, so we don't want to scare them away at that first step. But with a participant role, that allows them to just, again, get their basic information in here, then they can sign up for the event, and then later they can go back and actually roll that participant into a club member or an adult volunteer, if they choose to. But again, this is a way that we can use events to get registrants that are not necessarily club members just yet. So, but again, moral of the story with the registration types, you have to create a registration type for each type of person you want to enroll. So each role in the system that you want to enroll. So if it's just club members, it's pretty simple. Just club member, put in a name for it, and then you're good to go with that. So with the health form, if you don't want to collect health form information, just say no health form. If you click youth, it brings over what was put into during their enrollment. If they filled it out, it'll be there. If they didn't fill it out, it's going to prompt them at this time to go ahead and fill that out. If this is an overnight event, you'll want to use that youth extended form. Program year, we'll set that. Maximum registrations. So do note with maximum registrations, this is going to set the maximum for that particular type. If you're having a max registration for the entire event and you have multiple types, we'll need to work on how to make that possible. We have expressed this with tech support that we need to have a way under details to actually set those registration maxes. But right now, this is where you set it per type for registrants. If you only have one type, just set your maximum registration here and you'll be good to go.
There are a couple questions on registration,
Yep.
or excuse me, participant type. What would you recommend for participant type for Spark clubs currently requiring new families to enroll for Spark club opportunities?
Right. So when we have these Spark opportunities, we want families to enroll in 4-H. So we are going to still encourage them to enroll. One of the approaches that we did take with a statewide Spark event was we had the participants go ahead and sign up this way, the new people, and then we had them go back in and finish their enrollment afterwards. So again, if you're going to have them sign up for an event that you've set up through here as a Spark event, they can use this, have them sign themselves up as a participant, and then we'd have them after the event go back in and finish their actual enrollment.
And then this other question is a insurance type question. So we may have to do some more investigating given the given the current state. But basically, if they're just a participant for the event, are they covered by the insurance, or how does that work?
That's a good question. I need to check that with Steve.
Probably just double check our wording on that. But generally, in those events, you might have to seek out an additional plan depending on what it is. But definitely, we'll look into that with Steve.
Yep, it's a good question.
Do Spark clubs go in as event or a project?
Spark clubs go in as a group. So we sent out instructions earlier on for you to record after you've had a Spark event, you would assign those members to that group.
And all those documents are in your 2.0 folder
Yes.
on the intranet, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Correct. Roll on.
All right. So again, maximum registrations. If you're going to set this per type, you can set that here. Again, if you just have one type, this would be for your total event. This is how many people can actually register. Restricted program. You guys don't really have to worry about these two. This is more on my level for state. Initiate registrations by manager only. Again, not one that you'll probably have to use. Tony used this one for scholarships this year for those youth that were who had graduated. They were in not enrolled status, and we couldn't roll them into a contact or anything like that. But you can initiate a registration by manager for somebody who has not enrolled yet. Deposit amount, please do not use the deposit amount. Again, the business office, that's part of our procedures with the credit card. We do not allow deposit amounts. If they're going to pay with the credit card, they have to pay the full amount. If you are going to allow a family to do a deposit, because it's a very large amount for an event, you'll need to work with them on that in the office, and they'll have to select to pay by check. But if they're going to pay with a credit card, they have to pay the full amount. So do not use this deposit amount area. Registration fee. Again, if you're going to charge a registration fee per type, you would set that here. And then your registration start and end date. Do note that it will default to the dates of your program, of your event here. So this is where you would need to change it to say, this event is March 12th through the 27th. So we want to open up that registration this week and say that we would have the registration open in that time frame. And again, down here with early and late registrations, we can't charge, again, due to policy, we cannot charge early or late fees. So just ignore those. you can see one that I've set up as a youth registrant, and anytime you need to make changes, you can click on those to go back in and make those changes.
There's someone that just has a question on fees for Spark Clubs, $15, correct? And that,
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah,
that
they
is,
still to pay,
at
yeah,
minimum.
they'll still pay the state fee. Yep.
and then you can charge more depending on your program needs.
Yep. Okay. So I'll go into sessions again. I would avoid using them at this time, but you'll see in my example, I have them set up as days because these are day camps that I'm offering for this event. So I've set them up this way. Adding a session is pretty simple. I learned again, the maximum registration, this is where it's not working currently. Apparently it's not stopping once they've meet their maximum. So let's avoid using them if we can. If you are currently using sessions in an event that you've built and are currently running, let me know and I'll show you how you can closely monitor that so we can get that taken care of for your event. But again, for now, avoid using sessions. But then you would give it a name, a description. If you need to charge a fee per session, you could set that up here. And then you would associate those registration types that you set up to those sessions. Questions. So this is where you'll spend a little bit of time probably for your event to set up questions. Again, the perk of using 4-H Online, we don't need to collect their name, their grade, their address, none of that information because we already have that. Even as a participant role, we have that information from them. So this is where we can ask for like events. We can ask t-shirt size, experience, rank. There's all kinds of things that you can ask here. A lot of camps I've seen, they ask, swimming test questions, those kinds of things that you can ask under here. It's the sky's the limit on questions. So to add a question, you would just click the little plus sign. You can go above or below the questions where you want. So you have checkbox, you'll see the ones that have dollar signs. This is where you can associate fees. So if you didn't add your fee on the registration type and you wanted to add it in the question, you could do that here. There is the options, the different options to have that, but we have a checkbox. We have content block. This just allows you to put in some content here to let them know a little bit more information about the event. You can add that in during the question section. Date pick, drop down, multi-line text, multiple choice. With multiple choice, you can limit how many choices they can pick when you set those types of questions up. Number input, radio group, single line text, and quantity control. So with like my t-shirt size, this one was a drop down, so I added in my options. There could be a fee associated with those. Report label, that's for your Excel document if you wanted to put in. So at the bottom of your Excel page, that'll be your report label. Make it required, who viewed that. If this is a manager only field, you can turn that on to say that only managers can fill out this part of the registration. I'm going to pick on a couple of counties we ran into a little bit of a hiccup with this type of question. So this one is a number quality question. So the question is this one I use years of camp experience, report label. Again, they're a placeholder. You can put something in here, you can leave it blank. So this is where we got a little confused. So number available, so treat that number available as like a maximum registration. So if you put in a number here, that's only gonna let 10 people or whatever number you put in there, that's the amount of people it's gonna let actually. So we wanted this to be actually 0, so it doesn't limit anybody. So everybody can answer this question. We have our min and max value because again, it's a number field, so we want them to put in a number, and the minimum number they can put in is 1, and the max is 10. But again, if we put a number in that number available, it's going to say only that many people can answer the question. I hope that makes sense. So treat that as like a maximum registration number. So that's what we found, that ran into that issue.
So are you saying that they shouldn't really mess with the minimum or the number available? It should be 0 and the
Right.
value, and the value should be 1 and 10.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Or 1 and whatever. Yeah. The number needs to be, if the number available, unless you're needing to, like, you only want so many people to answer that question, you can set that number, but otherwise don't mess with it. Make sure it's 0 before you save, when you're done saving.
Okay, couple questions. Someone asked, are registration fees entered in whole numbers or dollar and cents?
It should be whole numbers.
Okay. And Tammy asked, do the fees in this section add on to the original registration fee, or does this number become the registration fee? For example, we have multiple counties that camp together and all charge a different fee based on the scholarships provided by each county. Is this where we would separate those fees?
Good question, Tammy. So you can. The downside of using, so if you don't set a fee early on in under types or sessions, you could set fees here under questions. For your specific example, I don't recommend doing it that way. What I've done with other camp groups is under types, because you all charge different fees, and also because of, as of right now, I cannot actually do like discount codes for events. I recommend that you set up a type, a registration type for each camp group. So I'm going to pick on area 2 for a second. So Lawrence County has their registration type. Clark County has their registration type. So under each registration type it represents each county, and it has their fee they charge because of, funding and scholarships and things like that. So that's how we set those up, because under questions, they see that dollar amount. Everybody sees that dollar amount. So this way, under the types, right from the get-go, they're charged the amount that they need to be charged for their county for camp or whatever the event is. But that's how I've handled these camp events before. But that's a great question. I hope that helps. Let me know if you need any other clarification on that.
The next question, I don't know if you're going to say any more about integration of fair entry or YQCA platforms, but it's just kind of asking when you will know more about that, you think?
Hopefully soon. That is coming, more integration. Now that they've got the fair entry integration done, they'll be moving to getting YQCA integrated as well, and record book. Okay, any questions on questions section? Like I said, pretty easy to set those up. There will be more functions coming with questions. Eventually, I've been told that, like Qualtrics, where you can have blanking on the name, like functions behind it. So if you answer no to this, it'll skip down to this one. Those types of things will be coming along the way. So we'll move on to consents. You can add a consent. So these are any consents that we have built into the system. As a club member or an adult volunteer, they would have signed all this information already. So there's really no need to add a consent. But those registration types of participants, what you can do with this, because again, as a participant, they just fill out the basic information and they don't fill anything out else with us. You can have them sign like the photo policy. So if you're wanting to take pictures at this event, you can ask them to sign the photo policy if they agree or disagree. So then, for photos for that event, you can have them do that here. custom files. So you can have them upload custom files to an event. It's being slow. I have one built. So you can add a file, give it a name, give it a description. The file type, the only options you have at this time are image and PDF. I am asking about Word documents. I haven't gotten an answer yet. But right now, again, it's image or PDF. You can make it visible or required. Your registration types will be listed here for you to add those to. Once you've created one, I'll go into this one. So you're creating the custom file to, that's the placeholder. But once you go into that custom file placeholder, you'll see down here, you can upload a template file for them to be able to download and then re-upload. Again, if you're going to allow a PDF and an image, you'll have to create 2 separate custom files. Correct. Custom files is on there and to upload. So yeah, when you set up a custom file here, there'll be a box for them to actually upload into when they're in their registration. Emails, you can set up trigger emails for events. So you can add an email template, display caption, and then the triggering emails is if they've been approved, registration has been submitted, declined, sent back, moved to next level. That one, there's not really a level here. That's something that they're working on building in. So you can ignore that one for now, but you can set up different email templates to go out. You'll see mine under submitted. This is a template that I actually had created in the system, but you can edit this to put in any information you want. But when they submit their email, they will submit their registration, they will get this email.
Should youth photos go in custom files since we usually staple them to their health forms?
I've had some put them in there. That's up to you all. You would have to download those. Again, that's up to you all on how you want to keep track of all that. Because they would come in as a bulk download and their name would be attached to that photo. So again, up to you how you want to keep track of those.
Probably consider internet accessibility, thinking of the West Central Camp Group. If we would have been in a situation where we needed that quickly, probably would have been easier for us to have a photo copy, but that's probably a point I would think of on those, right, Kara?
Yep. Yeah, you would want to have these downloaded before you left. If you did go ahead and put them in here, definitely want those probably if you're not good internet access. As practice, could use event for YQCA to upload their they complete online themselves. So writing that for us so we can see those who have completed those YQCA certifications, that integration is supposed to occur. So I'd hold off on having them upload that as an event at this time. Again, fingers crossed that's going to be up next for them to update for us.
When sessions work, would it be possible to have an option in the trigger email to show which session they signed up for? Currently, it only has the event name.
Yeah, Lauren. So yeah, once that's something they're working on with sessions, because yeah, currently with sessions, you can't see what session they signed up for until you build it into a report. I found that out with Teens as Teachers and found that out yesterday too, that function doesn't work. So yeah, they are working on getting that built up a little bit better. So again, that's why I'm kind of saying sessions is great when it will work, but right now it's not the most ideal. Managers, so you can manage anybody in your events to add as a manager to help you manage those events. So this is kind of nice to know if you have especially for camp groups, If you're opening that up across, several counties, you can add managers from other counties so you all can have management privileges in that event. You just search by their email or name. We've got one of our student workers, she's helping me get everybody's names changed in the system. So you will see eventually under your managers tab that you all will actually have your actual names instead of Purdue Extension dash whatever county. We are getting those fixed because obviously it's easier in this type of functions. We know exactly who those managers are for the event. You can give them admin, staff, or volunteer role, and then give them privileges to look at those events. And again, this is just for managers that are currently in 4-H Online. Payment due. So once people start registering for your event, you can see anybody who is selected to pay by check that has an approved enrollment or approved registration, they will show up down here for payment due. Registrations. So this is where you can come in and look at all your different registrations, see where everybody's at in status, search for those folks, send a broadcast. You can send them an email from here. You can download the files, any files you had to upload, those can be downloaded from here. Once you click download and go to your home screen, there's a bulk downloads area that you'll be able to download those files. Health forms, if you collected health form information, you can click health forms here. Health forms are currently coming into an Excel document. They are working to get those changed over to PDF, so they are actual individual files. But right now it is in Excel, but they are password protected. So you actually have to copy this password will populate, and I will put in the password to get in to that protected file. And then reports. Obviously, you can build reports for any event. You can, if you don't have a folder created, you'll need to add a folder and then add your reports. And reports work just like they do in under custom reports. Do note that to get your questions, so I'm going to click on this one, to get the questions that you asked of them, you go under the user defined when you're doing your report columns, and that will give you the questions that you asked, and you pull those over. Registration is going to have all that registration information, obviously member, get their names, all that kind of thing. And then user, again, user defined is where your questions that you asked in the event, that's where those will be. Sure. In trigger emails, you can only insert the event name and status. It would be nice to be able to insert what they signed up for. For example, t-shirts, it'd be nice. Yep. Okay. Yep. I will make a note of that, Lauren, that you're right. It would be nice to send them exactly what they signed up for again in that event registration. Kind of like an invoice that has all the things they chose from. Yep. Okay. And once you have your event built, we've got, if you're collecting credit card and we've got that approved with the business office, you can change your status to active and you're ready to start taking event registrations. Once they start registering, and if you are going to approve those registrations, go back to your events tab, go up here to awaiting review. You can click on those members. If we have state events that you need to approve, that's where you would find those. Again, like scholarships, under the events tab, awaiting review for you to go in and approve those. You come in, look, make sure everything's there. If you need to send it back, just like enrollment, you type in a comment, send it back to them, or approve it.
We got a quick question here, Kara, from Ashley Alexander. When the max registration is met, what happens? Does the event disappear, or do we get an email that says that the max was met?
You don't get an email. When they go to register, it's just not available for the event is available, but it won't let them continue into the registration once it's full.
Like a sold out product. It'll let you look at it, but you can't buy it.
Correct.
And then another question, remind me, is there a fee to run event registration through 4-H online like there is through CVent?
Yep. So in that budget form, it does go ahead and calculate the $5 fee that we charge for the credit card transactions. So then when I close out the event, we hold back that $5 per registrant. Yes, Tammy. So yeah, the question was, is payment handled the same way? They can choose to pay with credit card or check, just like enrollment. Yes, absolutely. They have that choice to do either or.
And then what if a county has different numbers allowed to register for event? So an event that would be across counties.
So yeah, if you're gonna allow, again, I would do that under your registration types. I would set up, if that's going to occur under registration types, Hancock County registration, that's going to allow 10 people. Hendricks County is going to allow 12 people. So you would set up a different registration type for each of those to set those maximum registrations. Okay, so once you've approved people and people have come in, especially if they're going to pay by check, they've come in, they've given you their money. So how do you mark them paid? So you come under your payment due, click on that member, check the box, put in a payment note. You can put in their check number here and click approve. Oh, he came in here late. Okay, and then they show up under your bills and you can add them to a bill and then create an invoice to send payment.
Can we set up an event and only let them submit payment to the extension office so it would not allow them to pay for an event online?
So there's not a way to turn off the credit card. It's kind of like what was the case in 1.0. We can't turn it off per event. But if you put in the instructions that they cannot, that you just want them to pay in the office, put in instructions to say that, and then you just have to closely monitor. That's when I would definitely suggest that you approve those registrations. So if there is a credit card attached, send it back to them and say, please indicate to pay by check. Again, it's something we can't turn off, but if you want to closely monitor that, that's fine.
Do we need to add on the additional $5 for the credit card payments?
So it's figured into the budget form. So just think about that when you're working on your budget form, that we will hold back $5 per registrant.
Abby asked, we would still need to submit a budget form to the business office if we're not accepting payment online? Question mark.
No, so if you're not going to accept any kind of, if you're not going to allow them to pay with credit card, or if you're not putting in a fee at all into an event registration, no, you do not have to submit a budget form with me. Only if you're going to allow them to pay with credit card. And no, this is not to be used for fundraiser type events. If you're trying to collect t-shirt sizes, that's fine, but you cannot charge through here for those. Any other? I like events. Those counties I know who have been using this, I think they can agree that it is pretty slick. I think it's a little easier to use than it was in 1.0. But
Kara, I had a question. For DuBois County, we actually closed our t-shirt event, and I ran into if there people need to make changes. I hit close and I can't go back and make any changes for closed, and then I try to change it from closed back to testing and it wouldn't allow me. So can you explain the difference between sold out and closed in events?
Yep. So to make changes like that, Lauren, so if you close an event, to make any kind of changes to somebody's registration, you have to put it back to active. If you've closed your registration date, they can't get back in, leaving it in active status. But to be able to make any changes to their registration, you have to have it in active status to make those changes. So if you want to mark it as closed or sold out, that's fine. You can turn those off. But again, if you need to make changes, you have to move it back to active so you can make those changes. But putting it as closed or sold out is going to tell the members that it's closed.
Is there any way to undo closed once you hit it and you change the registration dates to be past dates, or is it like I'll
If you need to change the dates, okay, yeah, send me an email to dates, put it in testing, change your dates, but to actually change somebody's registration, it has to be an active status to make those changes.
I'll get with you because I changed the date and then I closed it and now I can't even get it back open. So
Okay,
I'll
yeah,
get
send
with
me an email and we'll look at that.
Here, did you see Carroll County's question? How did
Yeah,
you?
so I'm going to
Okay.
look at that. We should be able to get that information. They've not changed all my stuff.
Can I fire away another question at you while you look?
Yep, go right ahead.
Okay, so with the $5 fee, will those need to be included in the amount paid on check or cash, or will this just be for those paying with credit card?
So when we close out the event, we keep back that $5 regardless. So when I calculate that with the business office, they have me give them the total amount that was charged for everybody. And then we keep back that $5 processing per registrant. So yeah, you'll want to figure that in when you are creating your event and how much you want to charge. And when you're creating your event, if you want me to kind of calculate what that could potentially look like, I'm happy to do that with you.
And then Connie says change event status if event is rescheduled due to weather, can change end date ?
Yep, you can go in at any time and like I said, put it back in testing and change your event registration open and closed. You can change those at any time.
Those are all the questions
And
at the moment.
I can't find unit either. So good question. It's not there. So I will ask about that though with the club information. Club info, not in event registration. Because I can't find it either.
And just a way of thinking on that budget form when we've done them in the state office, thinking backwards, just starting with that $5 and then figuring out, facilitation costs, or facilities costs, meals, etc., on top of that $5, because to date, most everything that we've had to do, we've had to collect that $5 on 4-H online, but sometimes working backwards is easier than starting with what you think you're going to spend.
Yep.
Those are all the questions at the moment, Kara.
Okay. Well, we are getting to the top of the hour. So again, if you have questions, even again, if you're even just building an event that you're not going to collect fees on and you just want me to take a look at it, please feel free to reach out. I'm happy to look at those and answer any of those questions that you have. And again, if you are going to charge, get in contact with me, try to get it to me at least a couple weeks before you're planning to open your event with that budget form. And I am happy to help get any of those questions answered. And like, again, if you're having issues building a event, let me know. Happy to help. Thank you all.